3, 2, and 1. All right. Here we are, Shop Class Podcast, and tonight's guest is Mark. He is actually, I don't know. I'm learning. He's a Passivhaus advocate, and Matt brought him on, and we're going to learn a lot about him. I like him already, though. This guy's got a beard. He's looking old school. It's good.
Pro wrestling fan.
He's a wrestling fan. It's true. The first question I always ask everybody is, did you have shop class growing up?
So my high school had it. We had both wood and auto shop.
Okay.
So I grew up 2 blocks from a lumberyard that my dad ran. And when I was in high school, I ran cross country. And the guy who ran the wood shop and the auto shop and the drafting class, I know that sounds funny, but there was actually a drafting class. He was our cross country coach, and the guy was intense as all get out. And because I grew up doing the stuff in our home shop, our home workshop, I did not want my cross country coach as a teacher because he was way too intense. And I didn't have shop class as a result.
And it's ironic because now you're a guy you're an advocate for not only construction but passive houses, and then also you're an advocate for innovations in construction involving the T-stud, which we're going to get into.
Yep.
And so same with me. I didn't have shop class growing up. It wasn't even an option. And it's just ironic how. And then also Matt, right? You didn't have shop class either.
We had the class I teach, but I didn't take it. And we had auto shop when I was in school, but like woodworking and all that stuff was just a hobby that I kind of did with my dad, and I liked building things. But for whatever reason, I just didn't take it in school just because I don't know. I didn't think of it as that was going to be my career. It was just something I like to do. And, when you're a football player in the summer back in the 90s, you did manual labor jobs like bale hay and work for construction crews and things like that. That's just what your summer job was. So to me, it was just a job.
Yeah. Duke, did you have shop class?
Oh, man. I was a shop class king. I had them all. So, had it in like middle school. I was like, what is this class? But same thing, like my dad, like union carpenter, has his own landscaping business and everything. So we were always around it. But then when you're able to take it in school, it was like, man, you could go to school and do this kind of stuff. So immediately in the middle school, I fell in love with it. And then I went to high school and, I took those classes right away and I lived there. Like I'd have milk and cookies with the shop teachers in the morning. They'd write all my late passes. Once, I tried going outside the box and I went to a government class and I showed up at the door and the teacher's like, do you know where you're at? You might want to go back on the other side of the school, and take those classes that you're used to. I tell everyone, if I took that government class, I probably could have been president. But here I am, a shop teacher.
That's so funny. Oh
my God. Yes, I guess, right?
If only our presidents were required to take government classes.
Or shop classes.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. In our family, we say that all presidents should be farmers, just like the first ones, right?
Yeah.
If you're not in touch with the land, you probably don't have an almanac. And if you don't know what an almanac is, you shouldn't run a country.
And, Ben Franklin, he was an apprentice in a print shop, and I think he was a boilermaker as well. I think he did metal work. I'm not even sure. Timmy, did you have a shop class growing up?
Yeah, I had shop class in middle school. I had wood shop freshman year, wood shop 7th grade, metal shop 8th grade for a semester each. And then my freshman year, I had wood shop again for a semester and metal shop again for a semester. But then when I was a sophomore, I started taking video production classes instead. So I got out of the shop class realm. So I never took graphic arts in high school, auto shop, like advanced metal shop and small engines. I wish I took those.
Nice. And
I
it's
do
so
have
funny.
I do have a fun fact of shop. I was the last class of 7th grade when they offered it in junior high. My wife Carmen and I were in the same class together. I cut all her pieces out for her.
Ah,
She's like, "You remember in 7th grade when you had to cut all my pieces out for me in shop class?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I do."
And then she failed because they were all the wrong sizes, right?
Right? Yeah. Well, now she keeps making me cut more pieces for her. That's the problem. Now it's on a honeydew list.
Did you
There
give
you
her the
go.
bad pieces and you kept the good ones?
What?
So did you keep all the good pieces and give her the bad ones?
Oh, probably, yeah.
But let me second guess. Oh, not second guess, but let me kind of second what I was just saying. So the opposite semesters that I took, like metal shop and wood shop when I was in 7th grade in middle school and 8th grade, the other side of that was home ec. So we had a marking period of cooking and then a marking period of sewing. So that was good then too. I mean, I still know how to sew on a button because of that.
yeah.
So it's interesting because our high school, the shop class, the wood and the auto one were only for males, and the home ec were only for females. Like, really interesting that they're able to get away with that classification. I mean, today they couldn't, but
Oh
really
no,
interesting.
they still try, and I go down to the guidance department every year, and I it's all women down there, and I say, look, if you look in the schools, the roster shows that the guys are the ones that take shop class, but if you look at the NASA roll call, you will see all women engineers. In fact, we've had a rocket engineer on this podcast, and she's awesome. She's very well at explaining stuff. Plus, she's there she's managing welders. She understands time and temperature. She understands all that stuff way more than I do. So, and then also another ironic part is that if you go to a restaurant, all the guys are chefs, right? But the home ec class was supposed to be all girls. It's just like, what?
That's a really true statement. Wow.
Yeah. When are you going to see it? I mean, there probably is female chefs, but in general, I mean, I was a waiter. We didn't have there was no female running the kitchen as a male.
I don't regret taking those classes in middle school. I don't. I don't. I mean, yeah, and I think it was like the second cycle year that we had the metal shop, and then we had home ec or whatever it was. I still think we did the same projects. Like we still did a sewing project. We still did, but it was a little bit more complex of a sewing project. And then, we still cooked. Maybe the first year we were making like muffins and cookies. But now, that second time, I thought maybe we made a pie or something. I don't remember. But it was valuable, very, very valuable. And I would have taken home ec another year, another time if I had the opportunity.
Did you guys have to do the egg babies?
I don't remember doing egg babies. I don't remember that.
We did those.
Did you have to carry around an egg?
For a week so what our teacher would do, she would mark the bottom of the egg with fingernail polish that was supposed to be discontinued. Well, my mom had like all this old fingernail polish, and me and my buddy's eggs did not survive. I bet my mom forged half of my class's egg babies. Everybody was doing good like through the week, and it was like Thursday hit, and then like shit hit the fan, and somehow we all ended up breaking our eggs.
They do that at my school now. They do the egg babies in health class. They do that. Now, at my former school, where I was before where I'm at now, they did flower babies and in the preschool classroom. And it was amazing because what they would do is they would get a hat and they would throw all these things into this bag. And if you got the unlucky lottery, you got triplets.
Oh,
yeah. And like twins, or like you had an 8-pound baby or you had a 4-pound baby or whatever you had. Like, so all these kids ended up having to pick out of a hat, not knowing what they would get. And then they would have to carry that baby around for 2 weeks. And they made the principal, like, whatever they call it now, Children and Youth Services. So if there was a baby left like a flower baby left unattended, they would report the baby or they would report the kid to Children and Youth Services, which was the principal, to get the baby back.
I've never heard the word flower baby in my life. That's hilarious.
But it literally is flour. It literally is flour. They take a sack and they double, triple bag the flour and they measure it, they weigh it in. And the best part of it was they even sewed on legs and heads and arms and everything. And then the kids would go out and they would go figure out what size clothes the baby had. And the kids would go buy these clothes and they would dress them up. They would change the outfits. It was pretty cool.
What a prosperous country we're in where we can give people bags of flour to pretend they're children.
Yeah. Oh my
Well,
God.
have you seen the new babies? They're little like robot doll things
Oh yeah.
that wake up in the middle of the night and they cry, and like they have a black box in them, more or less.
Yeah.
That gives all the data back of how they were treated, if they were shaken, if they're this and that. So like you'll be at football games, you'll see a girl carrying, usually it's a girl, carrying what looks to be a realistic baby, but it's a doll. And that thing will start crying. Everything. You're a mom for a week or a dad.
Yeah. There's 3 settings on those. There's 3 settings on there. There's easy, medium, and hard, because the lady in the hall had them, and she would always threaten the kids to put it on hard. So, but every kid got it on medium. It was on medium. Like she never put it on hard, and so everybody had the same situation.
I gotta say, Tim, if my sister came home with a baby like that, as soon as she went to sleep, I'd be shaking that thing, and you know what I mean? Like
this.
Yeah. What did you do to your child? Nothing. I was wonderful.
Yeah.
My brother did it.
So I want to bring it back to Matt for a second. Matt, so give us some context. How did you meet Mark? And so let's get some context here, because I think this is, for those who are listening, this is like a world of construction trades enthusiasts that it's amazing to me. I mean, I'm more like the car guy, but I find the passion and all the networking and knowledge is amazing. So I want to hear, Matt. So how did you meet? Should we call you Willie? Is it Matt? It's Mark Wille, right?
Mark
You
Wille.
could call me Mark. You could call me Willie.
You're Big Willie.
We're all good, man.
All right. So Matt, how did you guys meet?
Man, I don't even know what the official thing was. I know Steve Baczek was the one who technically made the connection for us, like sent the email or whatever got us connected. And really, I guess it probably started with Steve Baczek, who I've talked about before, who's helped out my class, who when COVID hit, jumped on and worked with the kids with floor plans and stuff, who is providing the floor plans for the house that we're getting ready to start. Now Mark is involved with T-Stud, which we've said here and stuff. And Mark and Steve had been collaborating, obviously, with projects. And so somewhere in between there, Mark and Steve talked and must have said something about what's going on with my program. And me and Mark have probably been in contact for over a year now, since it's been a while. It was
early COVID because you were trying to plan for the fall. I think it was almost pre-drawing. But then obviously our schedules got what do they call it?
Uprooted.
We got the coronavirus, right?
Yeah. So that's how. And then Mark, so on the building side, residential building, especially building science, getting into, building better, passive house stuff. You can't turn on social media without seeing Mark somewhere, and really can't turn it on without seeing Steve somewhere too. That guy's everywhere as well. But
I love the idea of like these energy audits and this passive house stuff. I think it's so cool because the house I'm in right now, I rented. It's a carriage house. So it's basically like an apartment above a garage. And then there's a little extension. And it's great because I'm in the back, so I get some privacy. And, when it's cold in the winter and if it's windy, you could drop a feather in the middle of the apartment and it will move. So it's going right through. And luckily, I like the place cold. So maybe that's why I'm single. But anyway, but I don't have a huge heat bill. But when I had a girlfriend here, oh my God, the bill would be crazy because there's no insulation. So that got me interested. And I had a friend of mine that used to do the blower door thing, which is very interesting. So I think that this is underrated because you could save so much money if you knew exactly what the problem was. Yeah. So that's cool. So you guys hooked up, and then Mark, thanks for Matt, thanks for bringing him on. Now, what is I saw on your, I looked over here and I saw on your Instagram it says Passivhaus Accelerator, and I went on there. What is this? What is going on here?
I'll back up before I answer that, round, because when you had Matt's page up, you had the we call it the red door of truth, right? And what it really is it's an incredible tool, right? So just as we have these intense computers and tech for our automotive and truck world, this is the diagnostic testing tool to commission and to calibrate your building, or to find out that stuff went sideways, right?
That is a fantastic way of describing it. It's your diagnostic tool. I love that.
It totally is. And our short answer, because if you talk about, well, we have a blower door and it has a shroud and we pressurize the house to 50 pascals, like you lose the whole room and they're like, can this person be quiet? I just came to learn something. And then if you start the discussion and saying, this is the red door of truth, and it's like, what does that mean? And then you say it's a tool to test the building, and they say, what does that mean? So now you actually get the Kool-Aid being drank.
Wow. That's exactly how to describe it. That's very interesting. That is so cool. Now, I don't know anything. So maybe we'll stay on this for a second. So okay. So let's say you get, do I have to buy one of these doors? Can I rent it? Do I call a professional that knows how to do it? What would be like if I'm a renter? I mean, it would be good actually to know where the worst problem is. Maybe I could fix it for cheap and it'd be worth it. But if I would
say not everyone needs a 36-foot ladder, and not everyone needs a high performance impact wrench to get those lug nuts off, in 2.4 seconds, NASCAR style, right?
Right.
So it's like everything, right? You find a friend, you ask around, because it's not a tool you need. It might be a tool that's required for code, because it is, but it doesn't mean you need that tool, right? So just like a painter can show up, right, with his roller, his pan, and his brush and be ready to go, and the next guy could show up and he's got the sprayer and he's got the masking equipment. There's different levels of experience, and I would say you don't need a red door because you want to hire the person that runs the red door every day. You want that person running your red door.
It's not just the door. You need the person that runs it.
Oh, yeah.
Well said.
I've trained people how to use it. I've been trained how to use it. And every time it's like the first time your dad had to rewind a VCR tape. It takes a minute, and then you figure out this is how you do it.
And these blower doors, even with our thank you to Retrotech on the education discount, I mean, it's still like $3,000. And that the thing is, for us, we got it because it's something and we only use it 3 times a year, or no, 3 times a build, maybe 4 if we really want to. But for me, I knew it was something I was going to use and train and whatever. And I don't. Well, actually, I just found out our plumber, out of all people, own one. But he's like a super tool guy. Like any tool comes out, he wants it. Like, but he understands what it does, how it works, blah blah blah. So, anyways, but
this is the.
But Jake Bruton was the one that came over and showed us how to operate it for 3 hours away. Him and Travis came over and did the build show with us. And but like I said, for us, it's something we'll use it all. Every build, teaching tool we can. And the thing is, for me to hire somebody or have somebody come over, I got 2 classes. I don't always know when we're going to be ready. So it was just like, hey, I called Retrotech. I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. They cut us a good deal. We had the money to spend on it, and we did it. So, but the good thing is, really, it should last us forever. So.
Right. And there is a calibration that happens. So there, when we talk about the performance metric, a code house in, let's just pick the US, it says you can exchange the air in your house 5 times an hour, right? Roughly. And so that's the equivalent of leaving your door half open all the time. That's a code house. So when mom and dad said, were you born in a barn? It's because they got it, right? Close the refrigerator door, close the front door. So when you look at this page here, it now puts a red shroud, right, over it. And then it puts that fan, and then the fan has different size holes. So obviously your goal is the smallest hole, because that means that the air coming in and out of your building is controlled versus not controlled. And that creates a whole interesting discussion, because once you make a house this tight, that thing is either pressurizing it, filling it with air at 50 pascals, or depressurizing it, which means you're sucking the air out of the house and you're sucking the outside world into it, right? It's a vacuum. It can only go this way. That's a crap ton of air. So if that house is really sealed, in a few days, if you don't open the front door, someone's going to die. So it's that severe that now you need to bring air into a building, just like our banks and our schools have done for generations. They create controlled makeup air.
That's the part that I was always curious about. So it's like, okay, yeah, I want to seal off the air, but then once you do that, yeah, you have better insulation, but then what do you do? So you have to have some sort of air exchange system now, right?
That's it. So you can just bring the air in, or you could cross the air going out with the air going in without actually touching, right? Bring it through a manifold so you have the energy transfer, and that is an HRV. So it's harnessing the energy leaving and transferring it to the energy coming in, so that delta, that outside temperature to that inside in temperature, is reduced. So you're requiring less energy to be comfortable. And that's what it all does. First you seal the space, like just like our igloo cooler. That's sealed, that's tight. And then we insulate it, so now the energy is not transferring. Our value is resistance, right? And that brings it in and out, and that makes us comfortable.
Interesting. And the air exchanger, does that have to be a big unit? Like what is this like? Because don't you have to? Okay, it's about that big. All right, Matt. we
So
better-
they're small ones, right?
It was a
About the
fish
size of
this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, Ron, you're gonna like this, and Matt's gonna fall off his chair laughing. One of the classic answers in the building science community, when you have a pinpointed question, like you have, like, hey, well, give me an idea what the size is. Is it like my water heater? Yada yada. And the building scientists love to play with that answer, and they say it depends.
Right.
And sometimes that actually is a cover up for not knowing the answer. But sometimes it's genuine, right? Like, hey, how big is a car, right?
Yeah. Good point.
How much does a bag of groceries cost, right?
Yeah. How much? Like, what size engine? A lot of people ask me, like, how do you know how many batteries do you put in an electric car? I don't know. How fast do you want to go? How heavy is the car? How big is the front of the car?
Do you want to fill the trunk? Are you just delivering them to your buddy down the street, or are you
Great
trying
question.
to use them?
This guy's good. That's funny. I would steal that stuff.
And by the way, if you're looking for batteries, go for the Nissan Leaf. They're the best long-lasting batteries. Those Prius ones are a crap show. Those Leaf
Okay.
ones are incredible.
Oh, are you kind of a side topic? Are you doing anything with? Are you doing off-grid stuff? Is that why you know about batteries? All right, now you're talking my
Yes.
language, baby. Amp hours, yeah.
So
I just had to buy a battery today from Europe because I couldn't find a reply. I have a Fiero that's
oh yeah.
it was converted by somebody else in California in 2012.
Wow.
And then they sold it to somebody in Jersey, and the guy let it go. Like, he just didn't take care of it. So I got it for like nothing. I got it for like $1,800. But then one of the batteries of the 32 went flat dead, and I'm like dead, 000. So I'm like, okay, I'll just pull it out and get a replacement. The replacement is $330 and the same amount to ship it. You have to get it from Czechoslovakia, and then they're getting it from China. So, oh my God. But with, it's just an experiment for now. But if you
There's probably a warehouse in Jersey that has 40,000 of them.
I tried. I use Battery Hookup. Tom from Battery Hookup is pretty cool. And he has all kinds of recycled batteries. Like, the military throws out batteries like crazy. Believe it or not, Amazon throws out those little Amazon batteries. They throw them out. Anything that had one little tiny defect, again, everything's in there. BMW, Leaf, Nissan, Volt, Tesla, everything's in there. And you can pick them up for like almost nothing because they would rather have somebody reuse it than have to break it down for material.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Absolutely.
Cool. So what are you doing on that space in the off-grid space?
So it's an interesting segue. You mentioned before we started recording that you like the idea of passive house. So why do I bring that up when you said off-grid? So I think it's crazy when people add renewables to a building. Let's just use solar panels before they deal with the building's energy use. It's like, I can't tell you how many projects I've come to, and they got these beautiful, sexy solar panels on the roof, and they call you for a roof job, right? And you're like, oh, now I know what I'm dealing with. You ordered the syrup before you ordered the pancakes. Nice going, right? So in the world of off-grid, first I think about you're having a light impact on the environment. And if you do it right, you're having a light impact on the land and the space that you're putting the building. So you're not ripping out all that soil, losing all the nutrients and filling it full of this petroleum and concrete. So you're creating a structure that's not impacting, but it's also requiring less energy to make it comfortable. And once you require less energy to make it comfortable, you need less renewables. You need less solar, right? Of course, you could go around and put 2 chest freezers for your deer meat and 2 stand-up refrigerators because your kids drink a lot of milk. But if you don't require that much energy, now you don't need that much energy. Now you don't have that many bills. So in Texas, we were waiting for trusses, right? Because the whole market had a wood dilemma here and a glue dilemma there. So we're waiting for trusses. And when we were done with this building, we're going to put a massive solar array on the top because it's an off-grid property. Truly no electric on site. And while we're waiting for trusses, we went ahead and put in the solar because we had time to kill, right? We're waiting on the trusses. So now while the solar's in, here's where the magic happens. Now, that pesky thing called a generator, right? That goes, and someone asks you a question, and all you hear is, right? That's gone. So we bought table saws, chop saws, welders, and all of it run off of our batteries.
Wow.
There's no generator. There's no noise pollutant, diesel guzzling, messy thing that you burn your arm on.
I love that.
And it's just quiet tools, right? Charged by this orange dot that sits by the clouds.
You know, it's funny. I mess around with the cars. Last summer, I went to Bonneville. I was lucky enough to go there. It's like a racing situation. And they had a guy there that had a trailer. He calls himself Tier 4 Solar. And they had a trailer there that would it would charge up batteries that then they could charge the race car and the welders and everything. So everything was off grid. It was such a cool thing. I'll just give you a little, let me see if I can find it. But anyway, yeah, I know what you're saying. So what about, like, were the batteries in the house?
Oh, so for this project, I've been a carpenter and framer and builder my whole life. I've also had a metal fabrication business, so I did a lot of welding and I did a lot of container work. And my friend in Texas was also in the container space.
I don't want to interrupt you, but this is it. This is the Tier 4 Solar. So
oh, well, that's sexy, right?
Yeah, and then there was a Tesla there. We charged it up. This is it's escaping his name right now. He's
were you at a hot rod raceway?
It was at Bonneville Raceway. It was Speed Week.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And so then these are all like streamliners. They're trying to go a land speed records as fast as possible. And this a fan had a car and we charged it up. Yeah. So
look at that.
Yeah. And it's funny because the way you're talking about it, it makes perfect sense. It's exciting, yet it's super rare. It's still a weird thing.
It's rare, but think about, like, for the construction side, when you go to do a project, by the time you get if there wasn't a building on site before, right? By the time you get the municipality and the electric company to come out and run the lines and do the drop downs and your electrician to do all those steps, like there's a huge time loss because that's how that phase work. But if you drop a container full of your batteries, full of everything to get the project started, dig a hole. Let's roll.
All right. What are we going to do for Matt? We got to get Matt off grid, or at least his construction off grid.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned this to you, Mark. The idea of, so we had that mobile classroom, putting the solar panels on the mobile, because we just got the temporary power hooked up from the power company for the next job site today, actually, that you say that. But
so the problem, and this is just, a working discussion, right? oftentimes the job site trailers and the trailers that are used for that instance, Matt, oftentimes the ability to mount to the thin gauge aluminum or to hold the support structure for the winds that fly through where you're at are going to take those solar panels and send them through someone's, through someone's Tesla windshield. So if your job site trailer and office is robust, that you have, the right wall gauge on your tube stock, then I would say let's put out the megaphones, get you some solar panels, and start charging those Milwaukees and Metabos and DeWalts and any other Bosch, right? Load them up, right? Kids love tools. If they don't like tools, then odds are they forget that they have one in their hand that they're using, right? Phone's a tool.
Yeah.
So,
Matt, do you know how much electricity you used during the duration of, like, from day zero of the first build and the last build to now? Like, I'm just curious. Do you know?
I don't, but I could get a hold of that number, and it's going to be outrageous because our temporary heat was, so what kind of sucked for us, our temporary heat was electric, and it worked great. I mean, all we did was keep it so it cut the chill. The problem was we hadn't got insulation, even though we were tight keeping air in, the insulation, there was no insulation in the attic yet. So we were still losing. And the fact that we had to go through 2 winters, which wouldn't be normal.
yeah, as the temporary heat source for an electric power, that's gonna drive you bone dry.
Yeah,
but for
and
the most part,
they
5 or 10 kW should be more than enough for any build.
No, it's one of those things. Everybody right now these days are driven on data. They're data this, data that, data, right? So it would be interesting to know, like, how much did you use? What are you using it for? Whether you use, all your battery power or you use a portion of the battery power or whatever it is, you're still supplementing that, with or from the actual grid itself. So it would be cool to see, like, how much did you make? How much do you use? What did you get from the grid and everything like that? And I think that's a good teaching lesson also from the standpoint, like, yeah, we're a mobile classroom. We use, say 5,000 gigawatts or whatever you're using. And then, you look back and then you turn around and say, well, yeah. Then you look back and say, well, yeah, we used 5,000, but we made 1,200,
Well,
and our cost would have been X amount, but we really only made it this much.
And the power that they're using just for occupant lighting and tool use is so minimal. But again, the COVID thing and the need for the heating an extra season, truly that's a different line item because of situation. And so they're doing it for the benefit of the building during that space, and they're doing it truly for the benefit of the students. But that's an added line item that could be excused or found a supplemental sponsor because the data proves that the school and the student and the building didn't require it. The events surrounding it did.
Yeah. And you made a good point there, Mark. We were at the point in the build where we had to keep everything constant. We couldn't just turn everything off, close the doors, and leave because you got cabinets in there. Or everything's Tim knows, he works with wood. He's a woodworker. He knows moisture, heat, cooling changes. It all is going to start messing. We've been coming into drywall cracks and all kinds of things. So we were kind of stuck on having to go that route, which, again, God willing, we don't have to deal with that this time around. But we also, I may focus a little bit more on trying to get the actual, our source of conditioning commissioned during the build, so it can handle. The only problem is with that, but then you're dealing with, you got to clean everything at the end and make sure you're not, too much. You got to protect the equipment from dust, and so it's going to be another balancing act with it comes to that. But I'm definitely looking for different and better ways. But yeah, the power company straight up told our superintendents, like, you guys were like heating the outside, and I said, yeah, that's it. We were. And,
and that's the joy of the passive house as well, right? The amount of BTUs, right, that's required for that space will then be different because of the resistance layer of the insulation.
I was just thinking, right here as I'm listening to you guys. Imagine, Matt, if you walked in, you have your mobile classroom, but then you have another trailer that you pull behind your truck and it has all your solar panels. Like, so you come in, and then you unfold all your panels, right? And then that's another trailer that parks in the backyard. You run a couple cables or whatever you run, and then that powers the mobile classroom. I mean, you could, have these different setups. That would be cool too.
Or imagine if you could rent the Tier 4 solar trailer, something like it, and then, because you only need it for a couple of months, right, while you're doing the thing, or do you need it the whole time?
You wouldn't need it the whole time, because once you have power in the house, like I said, really the biggest thing for us, it comes down to the temporary heating. Because cooling, we don't mess with temporary cooling, but we run a dehumidifier that inside the house, because if it's 80 inside the house and relative humidity is 40, you're golden.
Yeah.
But now if you're moving around in there, you're going to kick it up a little bit and you'll sweat a little bit, but it's pretty comfortable. But it's that temporary heat. That's what kills that's where you're using the energy. Like, and that's the problem we'd have to solve. But yeah, like if we couldn't put enough solar powers on the trailer, the mobile classroom, whether it's not strong enough or safe, or we just didn't have enough coverage. Somebody was talking about this idea. We talked about this kind of once before with somebody on here, but yeah, the roll it in and hit the go gadget button and the wings fly out and the solar panels. Dude, that would be
and not always. Like the trailer Ron showed was pretty robust with how that goes, but a lot of times, depending on your location and the time of year, right? Because the sun's at different levels, you can really get a robust panel from just the vertical alone. It's it is site dependent, right? If you guys are on a spot and there's just these beautiful oak trees everywhere and maple and willow trees, like forget about it, right? So
yeah, well, Ron, your buddy that was on here from New Jersey the other, when he had on his gazebo roof or whatever, like that's what he said. He's like, there's supposed to be this perfect angle, and there is. He goes, but for his garage, he just has it flat on his gazebo. It acts like a roof. It was pretty slick, and he runs everything, and that was an impressive one.
Yeah, that was Sunlight Conversions. That's another Matt. He's pretty good. Yeah, he's got his house. It's a combination of off grid and tied in. So he gets paid, and he has a battery. Not any particular brand. We'll have to send you that episode to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at this guy, the trampoline.
What a huge room that is! Holy shnikes!
Yeah, that's the master bedroom. And not only is it a good enough size, it's technically outside away from the rest of the house, so there is some privacy ish.
Yep. Privacy with 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
Until
the 4-year-old turns our king size bed into a trampoline and tumbling mat.
So Mark, getting back to your build, your passive house build, and what you're doing. Sorry, I interrupted you. I think. What? So tell us more about that. Do you have a build going, or do you want to tell us a story about that?
That off-grid build. So the gentleman's name is Andrew Seeley. That company is G Pod Americas, and I believe there is in your Google search a hyphen between the G and the P. So we met because they had a certified container that opened up to a dwelling. Like it actually ships through any container yard and opens up. And I was like, God, I've done a lot of containers. There you go. But I've never done anything sexy like that.
This is
So
awesome.
that's the stack version right there. But there's
Not real.
another version that doesn't have one on top of it. There you go. So each module that you see there is 12 foot deep by 24 foot wide. And actually now we have a shed style slope roof. That's the container version. I wasn't part of the container version. That's how we met. And yeah, this is pretty damn slick. So this next version, we designed it so you can have as many modules as you want based on the 12 by 24, or besides just going deep, because that works for so many lots, you can also get higher structural engineering on the layers, and now you can go up. So it's not just a module that goes out, but it goes up. And our design is based for site builders, panelized construction, prefab, or modular. The one on the left is the one we're doing now. That one. Yep.
This is real?
Oh yeah. Yeah, my Instagram has a crap ton of photos from when I was just
Hey
in
Ron, I
Texas.
just put the Instagram link in the chat. Pull it
There
up.
it is.
You'll see the framing and stuff. It's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
still. Yep, you got it. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, so we there's a lot of engineered wood, and then we had these radiuses made, just by the local steel guy, so that we could
yeah.
put the glue lambs together in a cold connection, and then the building's orientated based on the site and the sunlight, and the porches are orientated. If you see how it's all resting on 12 posts off the ground, so that's the only impact to the ground is those 12 posts. And then yeah, right behind it, maybe in this video or one of the other ones, you'll see the solar panels and all that. Really nice build. Andrew's a good mate, wonderful guy. And
Oh, he would be into our
that's
guest.
Andrew right there.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
he would love this. Then he's got to look at. We had a guy who does aftermarket parts for BMWs, just like that.
Oh, all the guys on this build, like they're all have. You should see the
Oh,
cars.
they got a midget.
Oh, the guys on this build, we were all hanging out. You see the solar panel in the
Oh,
back
yeah,
over the orange car?
yeah.
So those are designed to pop into the corner castings of the container and then track the sun as well. The sun doesn't move, but track us, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. We always say to follow the sun, but sun sits still. There you go. God, you're fast. And that's all the you notice all the DeWalt sitting there. We bought those, but it would have been nice if they were a little more generous. Thank you, DeWalt. Love you guys. I really do love them. And
Me too. That's the tools I got. They're bulletproof, man.
they are. I also like Rigid and Milwaukee and Bosch and Metabo, right?
I have Bosch in
I'm
my
brand
school.
agnostic.
I have Bosch in my school. You should see the way they take a beating at a high school kid.
Oh, if it's teenager proof, that's the highest level.
Yeah,
Quality
Bosch.
control.
I have a lot of respect for Bosch right now.
I would say, Tim, in my record, right? So in my metal shop, we always used to compete as to who could tear up a grinder faster. And in one day, so the brand we liked the most was Bosch, but I went through the Metabos and everything else. But in one day, I burnt 6 grinders. That was my personal record. It happened to be a 23-hour day.
Oh my
But
God.
the tool supply store down the street, as soon as you burn the grinders, you give them to them. You still have to have the box, and they give you a brand new one. And in 1 week, our entire crew went through it was close to 100. It was 93 grinders in 1 week.
What?
Yep.
Holy cow.
Well, when you turn it on, right, and you got your flap disc and your finishing disc on there, and you're holding it with safety glasses, right, and proper handles, of course. Wink, wink. We would hold that down, and you don't turn it off until you got a pee break, right? So you're just going and going and going, and basically that little, I think it's that little tiny carbon chip when you go and take that out, that just smokes out. So if you're smart, you can put that in. But like we just went down the street because it was next to the taco place. So I got new grinders when I got new tacos. And yeah, I went through 6 that day, but it was definitely close to 100. Like at some point you do push down and you try to burn it up, right? But when that thing starts smoking on you, you gotta unplug it because a full on fire will shoot out of them.
Whoa.
Yep.
That's funny.
That copper in there is so darn hot, and you're usually wearing gloves. You should, so you're not feeling that heat transfer. But your handle hand never gets the heat transfer, and that's where it smokes out.
Wow. That's crazy.
Leaning in on it so that you're like, if I put a little pressure here, I can get it to go a little bit quicker. And then I'll put a little bit more pressure on it. And then next thing you know, you're leaning in it and you got your whole body weight on it.
You're fully leaning in because you don't want to buy more flap discs because they're so expensive, right? So you're using your old. Oh, he's on his one wheel there.
What's going on here?
So he's so fun. He uses that all day long on compacted gravel, the one wheel, because it truly is an off-grid site. He's awesome. He's just
What's this guy's
an amazing human being.
What's his name?
Andrew Seeley.
Okay.
So he's in Bull Verde, which is right outside of San Antonio, and he was living in this. Well, he still lives in it, and then he has another one for an office, and then there's several on site. There's a fitness one, there's a solar one, there's a battery one, there's a tool one, there's a components one, and yeah, amazing human being.
We need to get him on here, Ron.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I sent him the link. I thought he was going to be here.
Yeah, because he was connecting a lot there on the posts and stuff on LinkedIn and Instagram, and he just started following me after the Dave Cooper Live.
Got it. Yeah, he has not missed a single BS Friday live show, and we've been 67 weeks, and almost everything I post, Andrew's the first one to comment. All the suppliers on his. So can you zoom in on that bench? So here's what's amazing, right? So that container wall flips up. That entire 4-inch tube steel, round tube for the right there.
Yeah.
That whole thing goes inside. The other side of the container slides back in, and then that bench is perforated aluminum. I mean, it is a masterpiece, that piece, because you got to think that first they had to perforate in, complete flat stock, right? And then they had to bend it with all those holes, and it still had to be rigid. So it's a crazy thick gauge of aluminum. And while it is a seat, it doubles as a handrail. So certainly the most expensive handrail we've ever seen, and not code compliant because it's more than a 4-inch gap underneath there for a kid to tumble and break the ground. But that's one of my favorite features of it. And then people say, well, why would you make the bench face inward? You should make it face outward. Well, that's an 8 by 20 container, so 160 feet. Matt's bedroom is more than 160. His bed is almost 160 square feet. So now that outside space is truly something you would use quite a bit. But inside of that is is a small kitchen, is a small bath, and that's the bed over there and a desk area. So really, a space like that you might not want in Maine or Oregon during January and February or Jersey, but during the summer months, fresh air, baby, 24/7.
This is awesome. I'm so excited because I really don't want a regular house. I mean, I say that now, but I've never liked the idea of I grew up in a regular house. It's annoying to me. I want to try. Oh, hey, Steve Baczek's here. Holy crap.
Wow.
Legendary.
But hey, let me ask you a question though. Now that container is sitting on the actual ground, or is there like helical piles in the ground? Like,
yeah. So here my building science answer, Tim, is it depends. So some of those containers are placed temporarily for the build, and then they'll be deployed elsewhere for other projects. Like, it just depends. So it's a very light impact area. Steve was just out there and did a lot of coverage of the job site. You might have seen his Instagram post. It was somewhere in Texas. And now everywhere I travel, because I don't really want to tell people where I am in case I miss a meeting, right? So somewhere right now we're somewhere in Google Teams, Google Meets, whatever you call it.
I just started following Steve today.
Hey, Steve, welcome to Shop Class Podcast. We don't see you yet, and there was a little bit of a feedback, so I muted you, but unmute yourself at any time, and if you could figure out how to join us, that'd be great.
Oh, I can. I know how to join you. I just don't know if I want
to. Is this guy from Jersey? I like this guy already. This is the attitude.
He's near Boston.
Okay, that's that East Coaster right there. That was good.
Steven, how are you, brother?
He's eating. That's why he didn't want to go on camera.
Which we hey, well, Steve's doing better than us. I think we were all sitting here munching on pizza. At least he's eating.
I'm eating a pear.
So thanks for joining. I've heard a lot about you.
Sorry, it took me a while. I just got finished with a client meeting. So.
Oh, don't even worry, man.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of purchasing a tiny home passive house, off-grid solar thingamabob.
What a dumb idea that is.
Tell us how you really feel.
So this is good.
We just went over the whole G-Pod and talked about off-grid solar. Ron, you said you have 4 pages of questions. Is that right?
Well, we started here. I want to know what is going on here? What is this?
So it's a really cool graphic right there. This is a new website. So Passivhaus Accelerator has been around for 2.5 years, and I might botch this up and have people not like what I say, but it's okay. It's my words. Accelerator was set up because there's 2 passive house organizations. There's the Passivhaus Institute out of Germany with Wolfgang Feist that founded it, and then there's the Passivhaus Institute US that came out of Illinois with Katrin Klingenberg. And at one point in time, they were all friends and trying to do things together and really move the what they knew about the wall and energy use to a unified front. And sometimes German clocks tick a certain way, and so it didn't work out. They had a little bit different path to bring it forward, so they became different organizations. So it's just like Coke and Pepsi or Budweiser and Miller. There's two different ways to do it, but again, we all like refreshments, right? So the accelerator was, let's pull it together. Let's bring forth that buildings can require less energy to operate, and then let's try and bring forth the building science practices that Steve has based his career off of for the industry. And that's saying, how can we make this building more durable, more reliable, and quit doing dumb stuff? And so it's a way of bringing that together.
Yeah, I really like that. And there's just not enough people that know about this stuff. Even I have a friend who just bought a house, and the first thing she's doing is ripping up the carpet and doing this stuff. And I said, really, you should get a blower door and find out where your biggest problem is right away. And that's just me having a basic idea that you need some sort of scientific baseline.
It sounds like you just said you have a basic idea. That was pretty well placed there.
All right.
So, it is a baseline. That's the actual terminology that's used, right? It's what we know is happening. So
Right.
from your automotive side, we often laugh and say the worst built car or truck, right, is still better sealed and keeps water out better than some of our best built buildings.
Oh, that's funny.
Well,
Yeah.
it's pathetic, right? But Americans call pathetic things funny because we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, right?
Yeah.
But it's truly pathetic that the Yugo is better than the green lead building with a fancy plaque on it.
So funny. I had a Yugo.
Of course you did.
I got it from the junkyard. That thing was great.
When you have your DeLorean, I'm going to hop in for a ride.
Nice.
So that's kind of the accelerator. And then when COVID hit, February of last year, accelerator was not quite a year old, and they would publish articles and they would try to bring people together. When COVID hit, they connected with Sean Sadamore and Monty Paulson out of British Columbia, who had an active happy hour thing. And British Columbia is very progressive with their building codes. And so they said, we're going to have a happy hour every Wednesday, and we're going to have someone present, and we're going to get together as a community. Well, fast forward to today, that happy hour has gone on for 72 episodes or so. We took August off. And then somewhere in the fall of last year, I talked to Michael and Zach, who run the accelerator, and I said, we need construction tech, because happy hour was heavy into the architect and engineer space. So we brought in construction tech, and then we focus on the technical, the technique, and the technology. So if you go back to the accelerator website.
Wait, let me do. Is this the trades part of that Friday show?
No, that's BS Friday.
No, BS Friday is a different show on the Passivhaus Accelerator website.
Yeah.
Go to attend in the second column.
All right.
Go to construction tech.
Got it.
So
Steve, I hope you don't mind. I'm just gonna mute you because there's like a feedback loop for some reason. There we go. And unmute yourself at any time. Okay. All right.
So if you scroll down to the bottom, so we're coming back September 7th. We took August off, and you keep scrolling down and you keep scrolling down. You'll see all these different projects from throughout North America, and some have been certainly in Ireland and Romania, where they're doing just amazing things. There's the one and only Connor Malloy, right?
Yeah.
So you'll just find a bunch of, episodes there. And the presentation lasts for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we do Q&A for about an hour and 15. And Steve was on one of the first episodes with Jake Bruton and Matt Reisinger doing the Columbia Hilltop Arrow project. And yeah, tons of episodes there. So
wow, this is awesome.
it's really neat because every market has a different driver, right? And you might have an architect working on this commercial building here. You might have an insulation expert working on this building in Vermont. And so you're getting the diversification that our industry is so robust on, and you're able to not only learn from what someone else did and from their example, but you're able to ask them questions and hopefully be challenged or challenge them, right? It's a very inclusive sharing atmosphere. We do have rules so that people all behave that way. And some people have done this for a long time and some people are new. Yeah, there's a lot of episodes there.
Yeah, this is great. Oh, this is the one I found.
That's the one. Yep.
Okay.
The beginning of this video is hilarious. Right here.
This is good.
I don't know if does the audio come in?
Oh, I could try. Can you hear it?
Not yet.
I don't think it does. But it's better because then there's no copyright striking.
Oh, no. So that's what's interesting is everything on the accelerator is free and shared. So there's no, in fact, we encourage people to take this and learn. If they come on this and don't learn, like I question someone that spends an hour doing something that doesn't try to learn. Like, come on.
Yeah.
In order to get the audio, you need to share the tab.
Okay.
You can't just share your screen. You got to share the tab.
Oh, I
Look
see.
at that building.
Yeah, is that that's AutoCAD. Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah. So you're looking at Steve's drawings there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Steve, I heard did the drawings for the house that you built, right, Matt?
For the next one, he gave us the floor plan, but what you're looking at there is that hilltop that Steve did. And then Jake Bruton, who I talk about a lot, who's helped out. So Steve and Jake, you guys heard me talk about a lot. So they're the ones who have really helped me out with these they've simplified the details, I think, as best as anybody could, and kind of walked me through it and helped me out so I could show the kids how to do it, of course. So
yeah, I mean, it's just so exciting because, you know, it's just like, I remember, this is going to sound funny, but I used to go a lot of skiing up in Vermont. That was kind of how my parents met. They were skiers. And when we would go up there, people would do such cool things with the architecture. Like in Killington on the access road, there's a restaurant called Casey's Caboose. And yeah, and there's literally the train caboose is part of the restaurant. And it was so much fun. You, as a kid, you go in there and you could climb up the stairs to go up to the gazebo area. I don't know what they call that, but the raised roof. And the waiter would have to come up there, which they hated. But it was a lot of fun. You had privacy from the adults, and you'd have a lot of fun up there. And all the signs are handmade in Vermont. And then you come back to, you know, suburbs in Jersey. There's not too much. Like, all the houses look kind of the same. They're all like the Sears special from like 1930, whatever.
I'll take a Sears special any day of the week.
Oh, really? They're good?
Oh, they are. So here's an interesting part. So this thing was fully fabricated and finished. You watch the crane come around with this beautiful piece of steel, and the vented roof above it, the spacing on there was already pre-thought out. So when the crane cables slide in, there's no dilemma. Like, this thing took minutes. I was standing right here next to Steve where this is being filmed at. Like, it was awesome.
Wow. That is amazing.
This is a really cool video.
8 bolts.
Oh, really?
That's it. 8 bolts holds that thing on the house.
That's like the bed of my truck is 6 bolts.
Yeah, and you probably can't sleep in your truck as comfortably as you could party on this deck.
This is great. It's so creative. Like, what a cool looking thing. So you send this ahead of time to the fab shop, and then they deliver it, and you just put it in place.
Yeah, I work with Russell's, the steel fabricator. That's him. I don't even know where he is.
I think he got in his truck at this point, Steve, to go get
No,
a
that's him
socket
right
set.
there. That's him right there.
Oh, okay.
That's Russell.
Emmett, yeah.
Emmett,
part?
yeah, I'm right.
What part of the country is this?
This is Columbia, Missouri.
Wow. Beautiful stuff. What a
We're gonna
cool.
have that house finished in about, I don't know, probably about 3-4 weeks.
Can you elaborate on that? You mentioned about having the vents so that the cribbing or the webbing, not cribbing, but the webbing for the crane went through the vents. Like, can you explain, like?
Oh, we just made sure that where we grabbed the deck didn't interfere with the truss layout, because we had to slide it in. You know, the straps that are carrying the deck had to slide in between the trusses. So,
Yeah.
So that was that pre-designed that way, or was it just?
Well, no. We just had to pay attention to some of those details. So when we got there, literally, we set the thing in 20 minutes.
It was super fast. It would have been faster, but they brought the wrong socket to the job site. But that incredible roof in that picture, Tim, that is a vented roof. So look at that right there. This is the final setting. It's really slick.
It's a 1 in 12 vented roof. So all those building scientists that say you can't vent a low slope roof, I say yes, we can, because we already tested it.
Now, okay, so forgive me. What is a vented roof?
It means that you drive moisture through there using the stack effect to drive air to remove moisture from the house.
It goes up like this, and then there's a vent at the top, and
There's a vent at the bottom and a vent at the top.
All right.
And air comes in and air goes out. So as the air leaves, new air comes in.
Right? Is
So
it the heat?
The idea is getting rid of the moist air.
Got it. Makes sense.
On the Unbuild It podcast that Steve and Jake and their buddy Peter does, that's where Steve was saying how they tested it. They took, I think it was you and Peter, right? Steve, you guys took the
Peter and Jake, the bastards. They went and did it when I was inside filming something else. I come out and they're like, "You wouldn't believe how well this roof worked." I go, "Yeah, it would have been nice to see it." Schmuckheads.
Well, yeah. So Peter and Jake took the fog machine, and what was it, Steve? Like 28 seconds or something.
Yeah, 28 seconds, 32 feet. It bled smoke.
So air is moving through that roof
when it comes out.
Wow. And so, but contrast that to a non-vented roof would be what everybody else has. It's just
yeah, most architects probably would have done an unvented roof in here. We chose not to because we didn't want to fill the roof with foam.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, all right.
So like a lot of your pitched roofs, like a normal looking house, Ron, a lot of times, well, not every time, but they should. But a lot of times at the soffit, you have vents, and then it goes up to the ridge vent and goes out, which is pretty common, especially in our area, and easy to do. But for Steve, they did a flat roof. So the 112 pitch, it's flat roof. And so I'm guessing, Steve, people's mindset is, since it's so flat, air isn't moving because there's no lift. But Steve and Peter and Jake proved that to be untrue. So.
Oh my God, he's an acrobat as well. Look at him.
Yeah, he was hopping and running across that thing while we filmed the video. That was like minutes later.
I'm like a cat out there.
Yep. I wasn't. I was on the edge holding the rail, and when you look down on that, where you see the struts, it's all pre-drilled so that when they run the wood decking, you just zip it in from the bottom and you're set. And you see the post in the corner?
Yeah, this is all thermally broken in there. You can see
Yep.
the deck. No part of the deck touches the house except for the 8 bolts.
Okay,
You know,
again,
typically an architect, you'd run a steel beam out of the house, and you'd have this big thermal conductor.
oh yes.
So I just wanted to show people we can do it without doing that.
All right, so to bring it down to ground zero, thermally broken, meaning that like you can't it's not one beam going in. So what it does is it's kind of like an insulator. It's almost like you could see it, but it's not touching. And that's important. Because
It's like this. Picture yourself being in Minnesota in the middle of February with mittens on, and you decide to cut a hole in and hold a steel rod for an hour.
Oh my
Your
God.
hand's going to freeze, right?
Yeah.
So that's the same thing the house is doing.
Wow, that's cool. Now what, but okay, here's like a dumb question. What is
That's a good example. That really is. I mean that, and I'm not a building science guy. I'm not.
Me neither. I'm guessing.
All right,
That was funny, Steve.
here's a dumb question. So if you vent the roof and the attic, is that part of the attic? And wouldn't you have to heat that space then? I don't understand.
No, because the vented attic is considered the outside.
Ah,
It's outside air. So you induce outside air through stack effect, and then you release the moisture-laden air back to the outside. So you basically scrub the attic of moisture is what your goal is.
okay. And that's because your ceiling in that attic is insulated, right?
Yes, but
The ceiling of
the
your
moisture you create in the house through cooking, breathing, showering, all of that stuff creates a moisture load on the house, which most of it will diffuse through the ceiling and into the attic. So you need to deal with it somehow.
and the ceiling in their space is the air barrier, and then the insulation is on the belly of that roof, so that the venting is on the top of that roof.
Okay. I have to start I guess you gotta think of the house as envelopes, like areas. Yeah, like they're bubbles, and the bubbles can transfer depending on what the bubble's made out of.
Yeah, if I could build a hot air balloon out of a house, I would. That's my goal, is to make it that tight or submarine tight.
That's so funny. Okay,
Right? I
yeah,
just
and
want to build a submarine above water.
that's funny. And it's kind of like coming from the car guy stuff. Yeah, so like in the car, you have plumbing, you have hydraulic lines, you have fuel lines, you have pumps, and then you have a cabin, and all of these are envelopes. Like the engine, that's an envelope as well. It's sealed with a head gasket. What are you going to do about transferring air, fuel in and out? You have valves. So it's a similar situation, but instead of like mechanical stuff, it's a lot of, well, there is mechanical too, but it's just bigger spaces, bigger envelopes, not just small areas.
Whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, everything is a system, right? Our
Right.
bodies, nature, the machinery we make, everything is a system.
Yes.
And including our houses and buildings, they're systems. They have air, they have moisture, they have heating, cooling, ventilation. You have water going through it. You have to discharge the water. You have to supply the water. You have electricity coming in. You have so it's a system.
Interesting. Very cool. This is cool stuff. It's interesting to think about it like that. Coming from layman's, I didn't grow up like this. It's just like, oh, they do an addition. No one talks about this. They just think, oh, I want to put a bigger couch in, or I need more light in the room. So they think windows. But every time you change the envelope, now you're changing your opportunities to connect with the outside world.
And you change the dynamics of the system too, right? It's like, to use your car analogy, if I have a little, I don't know, pick a little car.
Fiero.
A little Toyota or something, and I put a 454 in it. Well, the suspension and the drivetrain probably isn't prepared to handle what the engine's going to drive, right? So the part of what makes systems work is most of them are proportional to their components, right? Or their components are somewhat organic to the whole. So the same with a house. Like it's, when you design houses, it's the same thing. You don't want to design a 500 square foot family room and then every bedroom is 100 square feet. It's going to feel like you ran out of money.
Yeah, I could see that. It's funny because people ask me a lot about converting cars to electric, and they always want to know. They say, "Oh, I want to put in a Tesla motor." I'm like, "Okay, well that's like 800 horsepower. So does the car even run?" They're like, "Oh, well, it doesn't run right now." And I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, the faster you go, the harder you're gonna have to brake and corner and carry all that extra weight." So yeah, you can't just throw in a Tesla motor into any vehicle.
Well, the car's got to be able to respond structurally to that. When you hit the gas on the Tesla motor, it doesn't react the same as a internal combustion engine that has a little slack time. It's immediate and it's raw horsepower.
Yeah, the torque's crazy. They break belts all the time. But anyway, so this is very cool. This whole thing you guys have set up, and I think you're doing a good job reaching out to people. So you have your show. You got what else is going on? Yeah, what else? Yeah.
So that's the Tuesday night show.
All right.
And then on
Mark's
Friday,
like a one-man band.
What was that?
I said Mark's like a one-man band. He's the drummer, the guitar player, the lead singer, the marketing department.
Nice.
It keeps it moving. Yeah, Friday. Matt's been on it. Steve's been on it. That's the BS Friday. BS, of course, stands for Building Science. And then that's on the Dave Cooper Live platform, and I bring the guests in for Friday, and that show lasts an hour to an hour and a half, 1 Eastern every Friday. And then this week happens to be Joe Cook and Travis from Catalyst Built talking about, there you go, the KC Midwest Building Science Symposium that Steve is a presenter on, right? And Jake and Peter and Randy and Mike and Ben. So that's my guest for this coming week. And where
do we see that? How would I find that?
You had it before in YouTube. BS Friday Live. Should pull it up on YouTube.
It was the one that you had that I was in there, Ron.
Yeah, correct. Matt was just on last week, and we'll be on again because we certainly didn't have enough time. There you go.
All right.
So I grew up with talk radio, right? Wolfman Jack and all these Johnny B, all these characters. So
Look at this guy.
when we were kids, you couldn't, when you listen to radio, you couldn't see what was going on. But that's the nice thing about this world of podcasts and live shows today is now you have kind of talk radio with video, and so I usually start the show with the sunglasses on, and of course Connor, amazing, came in and introduced Matt, did a bang up job, got really personal there. He's a really smooth speaker. You guys know Connor.
Oh yeah, he's great.
So yeah, that's been 67 episodes. We have not missed a Friday. In fact, January 1st, Stephen and his daughter Alexandra were guests, and we had a good old time right on January 1st. Everyone else is trying to figure out what a hangover is, and the rest of us are working. So that's the Friday one.
Okay.
And then I write for a couple different associations, but no
Here's
one wants
Matt
to.
right on there.
There's Matt. Finally, he's got the purple shirt, right? Taylorville Tornado, right? The Tornadoes.
Yep, you got her. Yep.
Yeah. It's a funny mascot because it's such a real thing for that area.
Yes, it is.
Like we were I think we were Vikings and Titans growing up. I was like, what the heck was a Viking in Chicago? But so then I guess I sit on a couple associations, a couple boards, just because I want to grow the subject, right, and move it forward, and I can't sit still. So there's people like Steve I could talk to at 5 in the morning or 11 at night, and he's working too, right? So, and then my day job is with U.S. Engineered Wood. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
tell us about that. I want to hear more about this T-stud.
well, at this point, Matt and Steve could do a better job than I could. But it's really simple. So for those of you that come from the wood side of things, we take two 2x3s, align them perpendicular, drill them, glue them, dowel them, and what you're left with is a basic replacement for a 2x6, but it has an 1.5-inch thermal break. It's 4 times the strength of a 2x6, but yet it's only using the parts of the tree that would normally never be able to be integrated into a large framing member. So that touches on the world of carbon and certainly the world of sustainability, because we should be using trees for more structural elements. But now that we have this technology, we could get away with it.
Okay, wait, you got it. Hold on, slow down here. Let's see.
Yeah, I could go fast or slow, brother. We're good.
All right. Let me understand. This is a 2x4, and then it's trussed, kind of engineered into this other 2x4 that's facing the other way. Is that right?
It's that picture. It's that thing that's behind him.
It's perpendicular. So this
Oh,
one
yeah,
is
look at that.
this one is the 7.25. It's the 2x8 replacement. So this is a 3.5 by 1.5 inch, right? It's how 2x4s. Whoops. Yep, it's how 2x4s are produced. And then we either run a 2x4 or a 2x3 on the bottom, and now you have this dowel right in between. This is painted, so it shows up on camera. We don't sell them painted, although I'd be happy to do it. And this thermal break here allows for the insulation to run through the
Oh,
stud,
yeah.
so you don't have the thermal transfer. Like Steve was saying, go to Minnesota, cut a hole in your mitten, and hold the steel rod for an hour to let me know what's going on, right?
Right.
So that is saying we can now insulate through the stud, not just put a bat in between the stud.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Those
Wow.
are wooden dowels too.
Yes.
So the dowels are wood. They have grooves on them, really hard to see. And the reason for that is for an increased surface area of the glue, because the dowel is pocketed into the wood fiber, and the dowel is truly slightly larger than the hole it's going in, and the hole is not drilled to be smooth. The hole is drilled with special bits that keep it rough, so that surface area is larger for that glue to grab through. I can tell you, I was involved in like 60 different reiterations for dowels, and at the end of the day, we needed to make our own dowel because no one can make it, essentially.
Hmm. Wow. And
Now, can that T structure there? What is that called again? A T brace or T?
So it's called a T stud.
Okay. Now, can that be oriented in any or put an ending orientation?
So it's designed to be vertical wall stud, and this 1.5 inch can face the inside or the outside. And then the 2.5 or the 3.5 can face the inside or the outside. So that depends on whether you want to help the drywallers. The drywallers with the bigger surface area, or you want to help the people adding like the zip R, right? You have that big, thick insulation. This is a larger surface area for your sheet goods to lap and be screwed, nailed, glued. But you can also go every other way so that you have a staggered start on your drywall and you have a staggered start on your sheathing. And when you do the king and the jack studs, this is the sexy part. Now you put one going the other direction and you've got a crazy thermal break that you can insulate in. And it's just, to me, that's sexier than all get out, right?
Looks like a 3D Tetris game.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Matt, are you using these in the house?
Yeah, we get it. We get to show how easy it is to work with kids.
Nice.
You know, do the ultimate test with kids, right?
And is that for the next house, or did you do that on the last house?
No. This will be for the one we're getting ready to dig the hole for, start laying out the foundation here in a week or so.
This would have been last year, but
Yeah,
someone had to invent a virus.
Don't even get me started.
No. Just laying it there. That's it. So there's a bunch of videos there. Steve has done some. I've been in one with Jake, and then Matt Reisinger has done a bunch of them. We have a lot of products coming out. So I support the figuring out and the R&D to launch the products, and then I set up the manufacturing line to produce them. That's from a former career. That's easy to do for me. And then I train people on how to use it and get to talk with people that have great projects, like, Connor, Matt, Steven, and the like. That's Brian. Brian invented this, and he's got about 10 patents in the space. This is in Newton, Iowa, by the way.
Wow.
It's the old Maytag facility. If you pull up the Maytag facility in Newton, Iowa on Google Earth, you will see a mammoth facility, and there's like gotta be 15,000 abandoned windmill turbines. It's just, I've done a lot of videos on that. It's mind numbing. 70,000 Maytag workers. Amazing.
Where? In Iowa?
Newton, Newton. I think Tim, you're the one that trained Ron how to navigate all this stuff, right?
Yeah, no, he does a good job himself.
Yeah, he's all on his own. Now, what do you guys use like a Craig jig to drill the holes?
So we built all the machines ourselves. They're incredible bits and the motors. My friend made the whole assembly for us. So it's not Craig at all. Everything was custom built.
It's patented. You got a patent on that.
This
I don't know if I'm in the right spot. Oh, is that it?
Yeah. That's kind of over by there. Yeah, you'll get to it. It's mind numbing how big it is. This is just some of the streets around it, but you're getting there. That's part of it.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the one video, Matt or Steve, but I was at their train car, and that's where they build the bases for these wind turbines. It was either 1.25 inch or 1.5 inch steel plate, and it was wider than the train car in the entire length of the train car. And I've never seen plate stock that large. It was mind numbing. Yeah, it's right off that little spot there. there. You're getting there. It's just, I mean, the place is just beast mode.
Okay,
Yeah,
is it?
I've never been in the clouds, so I can't help you orientate, but
Okay.
yeah.
That's funny. Ron's always in the clouds.
Here we go. This is ATAG Corporation.
Yeah. Well, that's just one, right? They've got like 80 buildings on that campus, and then another 40 buildings around.
This is
Oh,
Gates.
it's mind numbing.
Oh, I know Gates. They make belts.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, they make belts for like your
Holding up your pants.
yeah, that too, and also your camshaft. Keep it moving.
Oh, yeah.
or your electric drive bike, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, this is cool. This is cool. What? God, there's so many things though. All right, so we've been over here. Let's review. There's a
Okay.
lot going on.
Let's review, but you can't miss anything, Ron. Or we'll have to start from the beginning.
Okay, so we got GPO. What is this? Oh, G Pods.
J-Pod Americas. Yep.
All right, I want one of those. That looks cool.
Well, what we could do is we could get you the plans for them, and you can have your school panelize it right there in Jersey.
Yeah, you could probably pick a lot of those containers up in Newark for cheap.
Oh yeah, they're trying to get rid of them all the time.
So the problem with the containers is there was such a push to get it put into the ICC code and our wonderful world of code that they did. And then they snuck in this thing that if it's more than 4 years old, you have to offline it, that you can't use it for dwellings and such. So it just created a big debacle of everyone working so hard to get it approved. And, the code stuff is sometimes that's a 4-hour discussion that I'm not going to say anymore on.
Yeah. All right, we also had
For a garage, like storage shed.
So it depends if a person gets it themselves and does it. Many municipalities get away with it, but a company can't get an older unit and modify it. They don't want that happening. There's gonna be a rule rewritten. Certainly the whole container thing, that's subject. Besides code, I could talk about containers till the cows come home.
containers are good or containers are bad.
Well, the first thing, if someone comes to you and says, "I want a container," you got to take your temperature as to what they know, because they might really be learned, and they might have put in 10,000 hours, and they might be smarter than you. But we know that they were designed to move goods, right? They weren't designed for people. And so if you take something not designed for people and put people in it, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to turn people into a locker room, right? It's going to smell, it's going to stink, it's going to be unhealthy. So why would we want to do that? So if we're going to reuse something, right, and we're not just doing it because it makes us feel good, but we're doing it because it makes sense, then we best do it right, or we better stay away until we learn.
Yeah, I remember I saw this one video. I don't know, this is random, but it's kind of related. Like, this one lady was talking about, she put an airplane wing on the top of her house and she called it recycling. But it took a crane to get it to a top of a hill, and they had to get it out of a boneyard and polish it. And I'm just like, wow, that's a lot of work for just a trim looking thing on her roof, and it's not even functional in any way. So I understand accents and going for it. But yeah, as far as like recycling goes, it's more of an aesthetic thing. It probably costs more to bring it up that hill and get it on there than
So it's an aesthetic thing and it's not. I have a wow story with that. So we tried, I was enamored with containers and then I got one and started fabricating with it. And I was like, nope, we're done. This is stupid. Why am I cutting up all this steel, to add structure? And then how am I covering it up? Nope, this is dumb. I'm never doing containers. But along that way, I was already embarked on trying to get the city to pass it. And everyone that knows code knows that Chicago is the easiest city in the world to work. And right, wink, wink. So along through this, you're done with containers. You've had it. This is stupid. I'm not doing it. And then you get a phone call because you planted so many darn seeds. And the phone call is, we need you to do a bunch of containers. You're like, well, that's okay. I don't do that anymore. And then you're told that the client is the city of Chicago. So we weren't allowed to do it. But of course, a city has to maintain different rules because it's a municipality, not a house. And so we started doing these, and we cut the entire walls out. So we left the bottom floor and the top floor, sides, I should say. And the other 4 sides we took out, and we proceeded to take that 4-corner box to a 44-corner box. And the other interesting thing about Chicago is plans and permits happen when they happen. So this one, on a Tuesday night, our system is the contractor and the client or person who paid for it. When a permit is issued, you're all emailed together. So the clock is on you, not on the city anymore. That's the pass off. So I got this darn email at like 3:30. And I called up a buddy, right? I got a guy, and he comes over to the shop, picks up the container, brings it over. We have this thing dropped by 6 o'clock at night. We're popping the sides on. We're popping the rest of the glazing in, and the next morning we're there, like beautifying the space. And that night, I went online and I requested inspection. So sure enough, the next day. This would never happen if it wasn't a city project. The inspector comes and he knows me and he's like, what are you doing? You're doing a city? What? How did you call for inspection? You just got your permit yesterday. I'm like, well, I called for rough and finish. I'm done. Building's done. He's like, no, tell me what goes on here. I'm like, what's there to tell? Right? I deliver this puppy like pizza. We're done. So, that happened, and then we did it several more occurrences, and it created a whole lot of speculation because people aren't used to that, right? And they say, why did you do it? It's like, because I'm not going to sit there with a bunch of grinders and torches on a job site that doesn't have power, that's owned by the city, that has 10,000 people crossing at 5 a.m. No way. So I was literally sitting there with coffee and donuts. People are like, where did that come from? I was like, it must have came overnight. I don't know.
Wow.
That was fun.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
So that was my container life. And then I still dabble in it a little. You have to kind of pick and choose your projects because at some point I need a few hours to sleep and eat.
Yeah. I mean, the container thing is exciting, but yeah, you got to be realistic. All right, we talked about blower doors. This is your baseline, and Matt's going to be using the RetroTech, and then that's RetroTech. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is something else. But yeah, this is what we talked about before we started the podcast. But that there's robots coming, software robots and real robots. So from an educator standpoint, like imagine there's going to be a humanoid. So,
maybe we'll finally know how to do a blower door then, right? won't have to depend on the human saying, how do I hook up this tube to what is this? A manometer? Is my fan backwards? That'd be really funny to have a robot put in a blower door.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's real. The thing is that, when Elon says he's going to do something, he does it. So, it might be 5 years away, whatever, but it's going to happen. So what does that do to manufacturing? What does that do to construction? I mean, it's not just them. There's a lot of robot companies out there. There's that construction robot dog thing from Boston Dynamics. That's it's not just Tesla. Yeah, what do you think? You want to comment on the robot thing? What do you think we should do?
If it improves quality of life, it doesn't mean we need to have it. While you brought this up before we went live, I also brought I don't know if the right word is antithesis, but I brought up my theory that 10 years from now, people will be wanting log cabins. I think there's some folks that are really learned people, and they're trying to put their feet in the dirt, their head in the clouds, and grow good tomatoes and potatoes and have good chickens locally that don't want these towers and these satellites zipping and zapping everywhere. So as much as we can produce technology and we have drivetrains and we have all these amazing things, I don't always know if the amount of plastics and machines and whatnot to produce them are the right things, because let's face it, we have a crap ton of the best machines out there, and it's called a human. So we have so many of us. I don't know. Like, I think it's neat that it's invented, and there's some certain circumstances that would be really safer for a non-human to be involved. But do you need a robot to make you cookies? I don't know. Like, I'd prefer to make them with my niece, but that's my preference. I can't tell people how to think. I could try. Normally, their stubbornness wins. It just depends on who's more stubborn.
Yeah, I always equate this to just the practical side of it. Of course, like, okay, so I drive a 5-speed gasoline Ford Ranger, but your daily use, most people have an automatic, and then that's going to switch to fully electric. Just from a practical side of view, I don't think making cookies with your niece will ever go out of style. That's one of the best things you could do. But from a practical standpoint, it's just like having a smartphone versus a flip phone. Like, it's just going to get to a point where it's pretty obvious to have this thing mowing your lawn instead of you mowing the lawn. I don't know, So it's
what color is your Ranger? Because I had the crew cab 5-speed, kind of little gold colored one. My buddy bought it brand new in Utah, and I paid $150 for it, and I put on 78,000 miles on top of his 300,000. Same clutch. 4x4 went out. Same clutch. You didn't even need to use the clutch. You could literally shift that thing if you know how your speed is. And I'm not a car guy.
Yeah, so mine is silver.
Okay.
And it's a 1996, so it's the first year of this. I don't know what generation that is, but it's the bottom of the bottom. It's a single cab with a 6-foot bed. It's a 5-speed. There's air conditioning, but there's no power steering.
Yeah.
And the air conditioning was a dealer option, apparently. so I
always say a Ranger is a good go-kart for a guy, but if there's a passenger, we have a problem, right? I don't fit with a passenger, but I like them by myself.
Yeah, it's just a go around. It's just it's basically a horse and buggy. I can't go very fast. I just cruise around. But I bought it for $1,000, and I took it from 135,000, and the speedometer stopped at 205, and I'm sure I'm at like 250, maybe 275. I've had this thing for like 12 years, maybe. But it's great because you know what happened was, no collision. You don't have to keep collision on the insurance, and I was able to pay off all my debt and save money, which I used to invest. So it's like,
That sounds like a commercial for Ford, right? Local shop teacher from Jersey tackles the credit card company through the power of the Ford Ranger.
I'm telling you, people, small trucks can save you money and make you money. It's an amazing thing because you're not going to put collision on this little tiny truck that you paid $1,000 for. So your insurance is cut in half.
You got to start a podcast called Ranger Ron. Like, you'd be like the Ford icon.
That's hilarious. And they're great. You know, when you work on them, it's so easy. I took the bed off. I can take the bed off in like a half hour now, just with a crane. Done.
6 bolts.
6 bolts, you're out. And just pull. You got to pull the wire, one connector, and 3 bolts that hold
For the
your
brake
filler.
lights?
Yeah, and then your filler cap thing. It's 3 bolts and it's a 7 mil for whatever freaking reason. It's a 7 mil. So this is just anyway. So that's my truck story.
Ranger Ron, everyone.
Yeah. Did we talk about the WWE before the podcast or during?
Education getting you down.
I think it was
Step into a Slim Jim.
Yeah,
It was before.
that was before.
before, yeah.
Why can't they do this in the classroom? Something I was talking to Matt about recently was we might be in the time of the celebrity shop teacher or celebrity teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, and schools need to acknowledge this and embrace it. So imagine if you had cameras, and you can tune in to a daily operation at Matt's build. He's going from like a foundation all the way up to a house. You could tune in every day or once a week or something, and the school could embrace this. And then,
So, Ron, that's really interesting because the Thunderdome, I'm sure, is taking out these monitors, right? Because they're using it for live shows again, right? So somewhere in the stardom of the McMahon family, there's 12,000 monitors, right? That gotta go somewhere. And why not bring it to the school system and have Mick Foley come in and teach your kids?
I didn't even think about that. You're right. Like, I'm thinking of the concept, and you're like, well, there's actually like probably more than 10,000 TVs sitting around somewhere.
Yeah. Like, just with your group alone, how many televisions can you bring in, right? Amazing. And the feed is there, right? We're doing it. So call up Mick Foley, right? Call up The Rock, and if you smell what our shop class is doing, donate and help.
Yeah.
Get on Hacksaw Jim Duggan with his 2x4.
Right.
You can run like a ladders, tables, and chair match.
He can trade his 2x4 in for a T-stud.
The ladder.
Yeah, now T-stud.
Yeah, you gotta
Steve,
send
if you could get Hacksaw Jim Duggan to hold up his T-stud and say, ho, then I think I'll have more projects I can get involved in.
That's a new wrestler name. T-Stud.
That's great. All right, we talked about Kevin, Brandon, the blower door. This
Kevin
is the
Brennan,
house.
yep.
I think
Oh,
we
there, this one.
started
It's my
talking about-
favorite. It's my all-time favorite.
And was that there before, or was this a remodel?
No, so what's interesting is almost every lot in Chicago is 25 by 125 with the standard setbacks. This small section happened to be 177 feet deep, right? And we have alleys in the back. So the bigger your parcel, the more FAR, or the more square footage you're allowed for the space. So this house here, I have 10-foot basement, 10-foot first floor, 9-foot second floor, and did all the copper and steel on site. There was never a house on the site. The guy next to us built that house there. That's 100% copper flashing on site. It's a solar ready house, and then the entire roof is insulated and has a white membrane on there, commercial membrane, and a dog house, so you can fully grow things up there, or tan or whatever you do. That's the roof. Yep. And then there's a skylight in the top of that dog house, and each of the door to the doghouse and the south and the east side of the doghouse have a very large fixed transom, so it floods the entire stairwell from top to bottom. Really nice. But
Wait,
here, go ahead.
Transom. That's when the window is long and thin, right?
And traditionally located towards the header or above the door height. That's my definition of it. Here's what's interesting. So if you're looking at that newer house on the right, that's the north. And if you're looking at the older house to the left, that's the south. So for some reason, the north wall, Steve's going to go berserk because he doesn't know the story. The north wall required 2 layers of 5/8 gyp on the inside, 2 layers of 5/8 gyp on the outside, and cementatious, and metal studs. So the south side, I only needed 1 layer of 5/8 on both sides, wood studs, and cementatious. So while that came from the city that I had to switch the north to the steel, now we're in a contested hearing. And I said, well, based on the north wall being steel and all that gypsum, right? I have a question. Can you add to my plan set that I'm not required to insulate the north wall? And he said, no, you got to meet code. And I said, well, what's the point? I'm spending all this money on this added gypsum and the stupid steel studs. Why should I insulate them? Because it's not going to do anything. And he's like, it's a slippery slope here, son. Watch what you say. I'm like, nope, I'm choosing my words. Please make sure I don't have to spend the money to insulate the north because it's not going to do anything. So sure enough, I didn't get what I wanted. But instead, we rearranged the floor plan on the inside to now accommodate all the closets to the north wall, because with such an expensive property, if the people were uncomfortable, they could care less about code or my design criteria. They're going to have my head because they're uncomfortable, right? And I don't want a call back. I want a referral. So we moved all the closets to that north wall. It's a really nice scupper detail there, by the way. Yep, all that is that's all Hardy. That's Hardy siding, 4x12, and we do have the aluminum clips in every spot. But that house is double hung, vinyl windows made 3 blocks away, and before we insulated that house, we were at 0.7, right? That's double hung vinyl windows, 0.7. So
hey Mark. So for the steel stud and all the gypsum, was that because of fire code stuff?
Yeah, once upon a time there was a cow in Chicago.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Just it's a made up story with repercussions that the construction community is still dealing with today.
It's those unions or the mobs or whatever, right?
Well, the union is wonderful. It's the only place to get trained, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have an uncle or a neighbor that tells you how to kick butt, you're not going to get trained. But the unions are very powerful, wonderful training in Chicago.
Yeah.
I was a union laborer as a high school student working for the lumberyard. That's a 4-hour story, though.
All right, so let me just understand what's going on with this, because can you tell us to me one more time, but as a car guy? So like the north wall, what is the problem that they want you to insulate?
So look at the space. Look at the space between those two buildings.
All right,
that's 5 foot. So one side of the house, you have a 3 foot setback, and the neighbor has a 2 foot setback. Well, the same as on the other side. That guy to my north has brick and cementatious siding, but that just happened to be the wild hair, right? It might be, I really can't give a logical answer, but it's steel stud, 2 layers of 5/8 gyp on the outside and hardy or cementatious siding, 2 layers of gyp 5/8 on the inside. And then if you move to that south wall, that's a regular wooden 2x6 with 1 layer of gypsum on both sides, and then the same hardy cementatious siding.
So in layman's term, there's less insulation on the south side?
No, exact same amount of insulation. The north side has an extra layer of 5/8 gypsum on both sides, so that's an R. Who cares?
Okay.
But they both have 5 inches, 5.5 inches of insulation, but because the north has steel, regardless of that extra gypsum on both sides, that steel is holding the metal rod in Minnesota with your glove off that Steven said, and that wall is always hot or cold, doesn't matter. Wall is horrible. On the other side, it's just 5/8 gyp, and that wall is pretty darn good. I did use closed cell in this house, and I did insulate between floors as well, because this was designed as a quiet house. So there's insulation below the slab. I think we have 2 inches below the slab, and the roof has 4 inches besides the open web trusses.
All right, so I kind of understand what's going on. The north has a problem because they required you to put steel, or they required you to put an extra.
They wanted non-combustible because of the proximity to the house for fire, health, and safety.
Okay, and then because of that, it's a conductor.
Right. You're right. I was dwelling on the ramifications that pissed me right off versus the health and safety that needed to be clarified.
No, I was just understanding how it works. No idea.
Yeah.
All right, I get it. That's interesting. All right.
Imagine me at the plan review meeting, right? Like, I was asked to leave. That's what happened, actually.
I've been to some town meetings. It's like talking to a wall. All right, that's cool. Is that the house you just finished working that? Is that or that?
No, I finished that one maybe 2.5 years ago. That copper has a real nice patina now. We didn't seal it at all.
Cool.
We did wear gloves on the install, and the lesson I learned on that is 100-degree day installing copper. The gloves aren't the issue. Your forearms and forehead touch the copper, and that oil and sweat and goop of your body touches the copper, and it creates a quick patina, as does bird poop.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
We
All
talked
right.
about flower babies, so now I'm mentioning bird poop.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, this is good. This is a good overview. I really appreciate it. this is about the time we usually wrap it up. This was pretty good. Let me just take it out here. The only other thing is I can't wait. I'm going to watch this episode, Passivhaus Accelerator Solo Passive.
Oh, well, that building is, all of these are unique. All of these are very unique, but that building is crazy sexy. And then
so cool.
there's some parts of the presentations that go way over people's head. And so, obviously there's a skill set in bringing people up to speed there, but this building is, to me, this is just pure sexy.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm
It
excited.
would look better without that couch, right? I just want to see the building. I don't need to see fabric. Who cares?
Yeah, that couch has got to go.
Got to have the stagers in there, right? It's all about the thing that lasts for 6 years that's full of stains and dirt. There's the Instagram.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah, so if you guys want to follow along, and thanks for the shout out right here. That's great. This is excellent stuff. If you're a teacher, you got to bring this in. You got to bring this new stuff into the classroom because, the world's changing as far as the competitive advantage of doing something that's more sustainable, in the long term. Very cool. So you got a ton of content. It's just amazing.
Yeah, but I have no followers. You want to look at content that's effective. Look at Steve's. That's effective. I have no followers. Look at this guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's off the rails.
Yeah.
He knows how to create good attention and to inspire conversation. And look at this drawing. You'd mentioned before the envelope. This is not showing you the envelope. This is showing you the details of everything involved. And you see really boldly, continuity is key. This is how you get followers. This is real teaching. Like if they would have had this when I was in school, I would have saved a lot of time in my career.
Yeah, Ron, if you want to start learning some stuff, man, go watch Steve's when he brings out Big Red. A lot of it's on the Build Show Network.
That's cool.
Breaks it all down. It's good teaching lessons.
Continuity can be bad, right? That's the idea.
Continuity is key.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Continuity is everything.
Except if you're talking about like thermal conductivity.
Oh yeah, not conductivity, continuity, right?
Okay.
Radiant, conductive, and convection can be your friend or your enemy, but continuity is following that line to achieve success versus guessing and hoping it works, and then wondering how to fix it when it blows up.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, I got to get out of my comfort zone and start looking at buildings, not just cars. That's interesting.
So there's one of my favorite videos is you might want to play this. Look at that lobster. One of my favorite buildings is what if cars were built like houses? If you find that on Instagram, my friend Corbett did it. Steve's going to Atlanta. Corbett lives over there. On YouTube, what if cars were built like houses is the most obvious, sarcastic building science offsite video in the history. Can you play the audio, Ron?
I'm going to try. Hold on. What? Yeah.
There's a tab I think you have to press first, Tim
Okay.
said.
What?
You're gonna. I want to watch your faces. I've shared this video so much that people call me thinking it's my video. It is my all-time favorite teaching video. I think it should be mandatory
I
for.
Did Tim say you have to share it as a tab?
Yeah, sure. I got you. All right, here we go. I might have to mute myself.
Were built and bought like houses. If cars were built like houses, each one would be built outdoors, exposed, in the middle of a muddy field. If cars were built like houses, each car would be slightly different than all others and would be built under different laws, depending on where in the country the muddy field was located. Each part of the car would be put together and installed by a different company with different workers guided by different supervisors on different semi-dependable schedules if cars were built like houses. Sometimes, in the rush to finish the car, the battery or steering wheel wouldn't arrive in time, so we just put it on the punch list and get to it later. If cars were bought like houses, no part of the car would be tested by anyone except the buyer, who just makes sure the paint looks nice and the seats feel good. If cars were bought like houses, car shoppers would never drive the car before they bought it. And no one would ask about the mileage per gallon since no manufacturer ever bothered to measure it. Also, I forgot to mention that these cars would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, the biggest thing you'll ever buy. If you hate this story, then next time you shop for a home, look for home performance testing and quality control checklists. Proof is possible. Ask for it.
Are you kidding me?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's amazing.
Yep. Corbett Lunsford. He's got a show on PBS. He's a very dynamic. He's probably trained more people in the U.S. on BPI than anyone, building performance testing. And that video just brings it home, right? We would never, ever build a car like that.
Yeah. That's absurd. Like, yeah, you come into the house and you just sort of like look around. You have no idea. You don't know how fast it goes. You don't know the miles per gallon. You have no idea any of it. It could be horrible. You just whatever.
The first time I saw this video, I was actually having a glass of milk and it really came out of my nose. I lost it. I couldn't believe it because his cadence and his way of explaining it is almost to teach you or inspire you, right? And then he drives in at the end. If you hate this video, right? Like no one does a public service announcement that uses the word hate, but clearly he likes the camera. He's really good at teaching.
That's not even his best video.
I feel like Ryan Reynolds should have been doing the voiceover for it.
That would be funny.
Like that would, he had a Ryan Reynolds like essence about him when he was talking, like that little bit of sarcasm and humor, like serious.
The Deadpool, right? Imagine a Deadpool doing that video. Then you guys would have to hire more teachers because you'd have an influx of students.
This video is from 2009.
Leads to
the
attic.
Yep.
Now, a door that leads from the attic into shared living space can really be a big heat waster.
So let's see what it looks like under infrared. You can see very clearly the dark area, which means cold. Next to
So
the light
that's
area, which
that's
means
Corbett's
warm.
wife,
The door
Grace.
is
She's
the
a
air that's coming in
producer.
underneath it is
They're both
42
talented
up here.
in the
Plus,
arts.
There's a dark band all the way
And
around.
they have an incredible house. He walks around with IAQ monitors. So when their family and their kids are out, they know whether the space they're in is safe. He's traveled, him and his wife and their newborn baby and their 3 cats traveled the entire U.S. in a tiny house that was built to high performance measures. So it was actually a lab. And they did that, like, I think they had the baby during the tour. Amazing. And now they have a place in Atlanta. Really, really cool family. I've known them for years. I was trained on BPI by him, and great guy.
Where two things come together. And there's a trick to this. In order to make a seal, it's going to go onto the facing edge here that's in contact with the door where the door closes. On the hinged side of the door,
Today, that would be a TikTok video that would go viral because someone showed you how to put a gasket on a door, right? Like, so some of those goofy things, like guy puts on weather stripping and all of a sudden he's got 50,000 viewers. Give me a break.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, this has been awesome. Maybe I could do my own little the best I could do, even though I'm in a rented space. But I think that we have a wood shop teacher in my shop class who's gonna, he could do something, and maybe we'll talk about some of those T-studs and thermal and stuff like that. That'd be great.
Well, I mean, think of all the times you've even worked on cars and whatnot, right? Like, if you don't have a conditioned space, you're not gonna be wanting to hold that wrench and get that puppy off, right? So,
Oh yeah.
it's not just where we sleep and where we pray and where we teach, but it's where we work and where we get involved in our civic life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just put I have the Fieros in the other garage, and it was growing like spores and mold and whatnot. So I got a dehumidifier, and now you can go in there and it feels like California in there. It's like 40 or 40% humidity now. It's amazing.
You want to be scared on building science, Ron. Just realize that mold is everywhere,
Oh yeah.
right? It's an issue if you don't deal with it, right? Remove the water source, you're going to find a whole different atmosphere. And that's what you did. You did it mechanically, but you probably could have pulled the car outside in this nice weather and let it zap away, right?
Oh yeah, the sun. Yeah, I'm working on it. I had to order the batteries coming from Europe.
Back in the day, we'd say clean out the carbs, but it has no car. It doesn't have a carburetor. So
Right.
these electric vehicles, you got to blow off the mold.
That's so funny, Duke.
Oh man, this is too funny. All right, this has been great. We kill the recording, but we hang around until people got to go.
It says it's recording on my screen.
Yeah, we're gonna kill that now. But I really
okay.
appreciate everybody coming in. Mark and Steve coming in. Matt, thanks for organizing it. Duke, as always. And all right, Shop Class Podcast every week. Next week we got a painter from Hawaii. He does automotive paint. It's gonna be all custom stuff, so that'll be pretty cool. All right.